In today's speech, we must try to outline the aims and goals of the course and define the essence of the discipline we are going to apply to and measure its boundaries. In short, we must try to answer the question what the course is all about. Well, the course is about stylistics of the English language, and our first lecture is dedicated to introducing stylistics as a linguistic discipline, at the same time emphasizing its interdisciplinary character. And today we are to define the object and subject matter of stylistics, its basic notions, the main goals of the course, to explain its theoretical and practical significance, to indicate the place and role of stylistics among other linguistic branches, to speak about its tasks and methods, and to show its interdisciplinary links. Throughout the course, our aim is mastering fundamentals of stylistics through discussion of the theoretical issues on the basis of different text fragments, of course literary text fragments, and different discourse situation. Well, there appears to be a belief in many literary circles that a stylistician is simply a dull old grammarian who spends rather too much time on such trivial pursuits as counting the nouns and verbs in texts, in literary texts. So this is an approach which students usually find discouraging. And they assume that stylistics is only concerned with clause counting. Of course, this is an erroneous perception of the stylistic method, and it is one which stems from a limited understanding of how language analysis works. The purview of modern language and linguistics is much broader than that. In fact, stylistics can offer numerous interesting and valuable ways of approaching to texts, and can be used to elicit far more worthwhile information than the total number of nouns in a text. It can make readers aware of aspects of texts, for example, grammatical choices or lexical choices which skew the interpretation of a text, something which a simple close reading cannot do. Carter and Simpson's edition of essays, Language, Discourse and Literature, an introduction to discourse stylistics, tries to put these ideas into action so that stylistic analysis is not simply limited to word counts. They argued that stylistics should be concerned with occupying the territory beyond the level of the sentence or the single conversational exchange, and with examining those broader contextual properties of texts which affect the description and interpretation. While there has been much work done in stylistics which has been creative and useful, and which has furthered understanding of how certain textual effects are achieved, stylistic analysis is often conducted within a framework of assumptions that must be disputed. So in spite of its clearly defined remit, methods and objects of study, there remain a number of myths about contemporary stylistics. Of course, hardly anyone will argue the idea that stylistics is an elusive and slippery topic. Many scholars express their concern about the fact that the subject of stylistics has not so far been fully defined. Some of them even go further, like a well-known linguist, Jean-Jacques Lassalle, who declares that nobody has ever known what the term stylistics means, and in any case, hardly anyone seems to care. Fortunately for stylistics, it did not turn out in the way Lassalle envisaged. Stylistics, which is a 20th century discipline, is very much alive in the early 21st century. A great number of books, research works, publications are dedicated to stylistic analysis. Also, stylistics has become a very important method in language learning and language teaching process. It is taught and researched in many university departments of language, literature, and linguistics. So in fact, all over the world. So stylistics largely inherited its theoretical foundations from contemporary literary criticism and linguistics. These fields have moved on, and stylistics needs to respond to the new ideas which have emerged from both fields in recent years. Within the last 20 years, it has undergone a profound revolution. Many have asserted that because of the advent of literary theory, stylistics as a study has died. However, stylistics seems to be remarkably resilient and has taken on board some of the findings of literary theory and critical linguistics. It has now moved into the area of literary linguistics, poetics and linguistics, contextual stylistics, and discourse stylistics. So the focus of analysis has changed from an analysis of the text in itself to an analysis of the factors determining the meaning of a text in its social context. So as long as we have stressed the importance of stylistics, now we're supposed to answer from a certain point of view very simple questions. So what is stylistics? What is the purpose of stylistics? Why should we do stylistics after all? So the title of the course gives us a prompt that it is a discipline concerned with the study of style, but it is not as simple as that. Yes. So what is stylistics after all? Such kind of question is usually easier to ask than answer. Well, many linguists follow the famous French colleague Charles Bailly, claiming that stylistics is primarily the study of synonymic language resources. Synonymy is assumed to be the basic category of stylistic differentiation. To many people, the term style means the choice of synonyms or choice of semantically equivalent words and expressions. So any propositional content, any idea can be verbalized in different ways. For example, would you like some coffee? Do you want some coffee? Want some coffee? Or take your seat, or sit down, or do sit down, please. Have the same proposition, so the same subject matter, but differ in the manner of expression. The possibility of using different words in same and similar situations, so the possibility of choice is of course very important for stylistics. The idea expressed by two or more synonyms does not remain the same. So stylistics requires understanding a fundamental division between what is communicated through language and how this is communicated. Aristotle phrased this as a difference between logos, so the logical content of a speech, and lexis, the style and delivery of a speech. So here the interrelation of form and expression, content and expression comes into its own way. It means that if the form changes, the content and its stylistic value changes as well. So there can be no content without an expression, or expressionless content. Neither can there be an expression without a content, or contentless expression. Louis Yamslev used the terms expression and content to refer to the signifier and signified respectively. And we know that the term signifier and signified take their origin from Saussure's theory, who offered a dyadic or two-part model of the sign. So he defined a sign as being composed of a signifier, the form which the sign takes, and the signified, so the concept it represents. So according to Saussure, let me remind you that a sign must have both a signifier and signified, and you cannot have a totally meaningless signifier or a completely formless signified. A sun is a recognizable combination of a signifier with a particular signified. And as we have already mentioned, Louis Hjelmslev used the terms expression and content to refer to the signifier and signified. The distinction between signifier and signified has sometimes been equated to the familiar dualism of form and content. So within such a framework, the signifier is seen as a form of the sign and the signified as a content. So Hjelmslev offered a framework which facilitated analytical distinctions. He referred to plane of expression and content, so Saussure's signifier and signified, and he enriched this model. His contribution was to suggest that both expression and content have substance and form. Thus there are four categories: substance of expression, form of expression, substance of content, and form of content.